All right, everyone. My name is Eric Trosclair with On the Tigers, and with me today, number 42, my co-host Michael Ford. Michael, what's going on, man? How we doing?
I'm doing great. What about yourself?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Getting ready for Alabama this week. So, been a couple weeks since we talked, man, and uh, LSU. We've seen a bit of good, bit of bad, bit of ugly. It's been three different types of games. We had Ole Miss that was an absolute thriller in overtime.
Yes,
Arkansas that we saw just a complete domination by LSU, and then
correct.
Ole Miss. I'm sorry, Texas A&M. That was just a tale of two halves. So what was your opinion on those last three games for the Tigers?
Like you said, I when I watched the Ole Miss game, it actually shocked me because Ole Miss lost the game. The mistakes that they actually made really cost them the game because of what they were doing. So, I looked at a whole different perspective. If Ole Miss would have made some of these plays, it probably wouldn't even win the overtime because they dropped some key moments out there. So it's just like, I guess in my eyes, I'm like the show, the eye of the tiger. Where is this eye we looking for? This, you know what I mean? You at home, sellout crowd. You should go in and dominate.
Mm-hmm.
And the Arkansas game, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't even watch it. After the Ole Miss game, I was upset.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned on the Texas A&M game, and my opinion was we got out physical. We went into the game, we were up, we took our foot off the gas, and then Texas A&M came out in the second half and just gave it to us. And it was like we didn't prepare for the quarterback. Like really, like what's going on here?
Right, right, absolutely. That's what it was kind of frustrating to watch in that second half. Like you said,
Yeah,
once they put Marcel Reed in, I mean, there's a guy who's played before this season. It's not like it's not a complete unknown in this offense.
correct.
So you didn't prepare for this guy at all. And I definitely agree. It did seem like that they were out physical and that they just got kind of comfortable, I guess, and took their foot off the gas. But this bye week, I believe, came at a good time for LSU to be able to prepare for a guy like Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope it's nothing like Texas A&M because
Correct. Right.
I believe Jalen Miro is better than that quarterback. Way more
Hmm.
physical and can run better.
Hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. So, um, so let's go back to when you played. This bye week before Alabama. I know we had spoken previously this season about bye weeks. Were you guys still, hard hitting this late in the season on a bye week? Were you guys still, drilling practice really hard, or was this more of a kind of rest and recovery week, a little bit of both?
No, it was hard. It was no rest and recovery. It was full throttle, go at it, get ready. Basically, the motto at that level is championship. It's as we've seen, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt because you're thinking Vanderbilt instead of thinking championship. Like every game has to be that way. You take every little detail, every little situation, and you don't take nothing for granted. And that's how the bye week was. My time when I was there was Coach Miles, and Miles had us going at it. Like basically, his thing was every day was a game. Monday was a game, Tuesday was a game, Wednesday was a game. It wasn't practice at that point. He wanted it to be a game so we wouldn't get rusty or anything like that. Our groove get off, so we go right back into the next week. Almost going into the week is almost you can take it as a rest because we went so hard on that bye week.
Gotcha. Okay. Right. I remember you saying that before that, for these quote unquote lesser opponents, it's you can't look at it like that. You got to look at it as, we got to play our game, we got to play Tiger football, and the rest will, if we do that, the rest will take care of itself.
Oh yeah, because I mean, a Leicester school that's their Super Bowl. You don't you
Correct.
don't you don't want another team to have a Super Bowl on you. Like,
Hmm.
you don't want that. Like, you got to set the tone early. And they got a saying, you know, I know when I was playing, it was make it to halftime. Just make it to halftime because the other opponent, that the lesser opponent, is going to throw the kitchen sink at you. So if we make it to halftime, the score decent, we're up. We know when we come out of half, we're going to pull away because you're throwing everything under the sun at us, and we know this because you want to win. But our whole thing is we got to stay disciplined and we got to stay committed to what we're doing. Because if we fall for the traps that you're doing, it's going to throw us off our game. Then we're going to be doing something we're not accustomed to doing. Then it's just going to be that momentum that they're going to keep it too long. And you don't want that. You don't want any team to have the momentum too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that makes sense. Just buy into what their coach is selling, and you got to take it and run with it. So, man, so Alabama week, take us back, man. What was this week like for you? The coming off that bye week, it hits Monday. Alabama's either coming to town or you're going to Tuscaloosa. Right. Take us back. What does that mean to an LSU football player?
Now it's funny because Alabama, when I was playing, they were just starting to become Alabama. Mm. They didn't have this. What if Alabama went on like a 7-year, 8-year run? What, LSU couldn't beat them? The first time they beat them, 2019?
Yeah.
So, it wasn't that Alabama. It was another game. It was just being in the SEC for us. It was we knew at that time, you lose one game, your season is over. You go into the Cotton Bowl, and it's like season is over. So when I was playing, it was locked and loaded every week because we knew like the goal was we had to get in the SEC championship to make it to the national championship. If you don't get in that game, the season's over with. Because back then, you lose one game, you're not going nowhere. You're not going to the national championship unless you luck up and be Alabama and everybody in the top slot lose, and then it's LSU versus Alabama in the national championship, which is stupid. But that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, when I was playing and we was going into the week, it was no different than that. Auburn, Georgia, it was no different because all these teams were good, and it was like anybody can take you off the board.
Mm-hmm. Right, man. Especially, not to knock them any where they're at now, but Auburn, I mean, that was a powerhouse back then as well. You had Cam Newton, Nick Fairley, and I mean they went on a little run there themselves.
Yes. And you're looking at Florida. Florida was on it was on a run.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was different because it was. You had Alabama just rising. Florida was doing their thing. Like you said, Auburn was coming into the picture. Then it was that three-head, four-head monster that was just always going at that fight.
Mm-hmm. Right, correct. And then nowadays, you kind of have, I'd say a little bit more lenient, but you got more than a one-game cushion. With the 12-team playoff.
Yes.
It opens you up for. Not say to lose a ton of games, but you could lose 2, possibly 3, still get into the postseason.
Correct. Yeah, I definitely see that, and I like it. I like it.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely like it because looking back, it sucked losing one game, and your season is over.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize how tough that is to go through a gauntlet where the possible 4 to 5 teams in your bracket that you have to play are all national championship teams, and they're fighting each other. Versus, no disrespect to Notre Dame, Ohio, Clemson, you have no top 10 team on your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michigan, their hardest team is Ohio State, Michigan State.
Right, correct.
And, we see what Texas and Oklahoma powerhouses got in the SEC this year, and no disrespect, the SEC is a little bit weaker this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma, they're struggling. Texas almost lost to Vandy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing people don't realize. This is game in and game out. People say, oh, you got the weak game this week. No, you don't. Anybody can get beat in any game. Sorry, Auburn's not having a great season, but you can't take Auburn lightly if you go play them.
Right. Correct. Absolutely. So, man, take us back to 2011. LSU, Alabama, the quote unquote game of the century. 9-6 in overtime. You were the leading rusher for the Tigers, 11 rushes, 72 yards, take us back to what that game was like, especially being that was an away game. To take us
Okay.
back to that game.
The and the question I always get is, what's the best stadium I ever played in? And most people be like, oh, it has to be Tiger Stadium. People don't realize, like, being in Tiger Stadium when you're the home team, you don't really get to feel Tiger Stadium on offense. And when the defense is on the field, you're making so many adjustments and going over so much stuff that you're not really mindful of what's going on the field when you're not on the field.
Mm.
So I would say most what I remember about that game is that was the loudest stadium I've been a part of. When I tell you, you can speak, and I mean, we're in the huddle, Jordan is speaking, you can barely hear him. That's how loud the stadium was. Like, the atmosphere was so loud. So, and you just remember that's the moments you live for is, every athlete wants to test themselves versus the best. And this is the best versus the best. You say you quote don't have the best athletes. We say we have the best athletes. And we get to just duke this thing out for 4 quarters. And as Les Miles say, that is what football is all about. Put your best 11 versus our best 11, and let's have a punch-out match, and let's see who comes out on top. And, and they gave it to us, and we gave it to them for 4 quarters, and it was a great game. Most people don't like defense these days, but I thought it was a phenomenal game to be a part of something so magnitude of that you probably won't get to see for a very long time. 2 powerhouse teams that didn't lose. None of us lost at that point, and just going at it.
Right. Yeah, man. That was one of those games. I remember exactly where I was. I was right outside. We were having a party for some family members, and it's like the game started. Everybody just got around the TV. But yeah, that was an intense game. So I couldn't imagine playing in that. That was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like they always say, you remember the moments more than you remember the games. You remember walking in the locker room at halftime, and in football, the biggest thing with a championship team is a cool level coach. Being in moments like that, your coaches are more important than the players sometimes, because the flow of the game, the coaches has to keep the even keel. They can't ever get out of the rhythm, because if we go to the locker room and they're panicking, we're going to panic, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And, you just go to the locker room and we got this. We just made little adjustments. Most people probably didn't pay attention. The biggest adjustment we made was they couldn't get to the edge. So we started running me on the outside. And that was the biggest adjustment we made in the second half. Instead of trying to punch him up the middle, it was like, okay, let's go outside now. And that's when we started moving the ball more.
Right. Correct. Yeah, I do remember that. You busting a few on the outside, and then that Eric Reed interception when he just ripped the ball away. That was another one that stuck out to me, from that game. And man, you were talking about strength of schedule, but that 2011 team, you guys really did go through an absolute, even the outer conference was crazy.
Yes. I mean, and people forget that West Virginia team we played.
Oh, yeah.
Dino Smith, Tyrod Taylor, like it has some, it has some guys on that team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tavon Austin was on that team.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was some playmakers there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So, man, any keys to the game for, LSU this week going up against Alabama? Anything that you're looking at, you're seeing?
Judging from the like you said, the prior 3 games, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Texas A&M, my thing will be get back to the roots, pound them, slow the game down, come out in the second half, and take over. Mm-hmm. Like I said it like when we first talked. I said the running back, the freshman, let him ride. They've been letting him ride. We've seen what he's done. Taylor, the tight end, let's give him the ball more often. let's get him the ball more often. Like if we're going to go in this power set, the hardest thing to cover in a power set is a tight end. That's the reason why a tight end is so valuable, because he's one of those guys where if he's athletic, linebacker is too slow, and the safety is too small. So this is one of these games where let's just be smart about winning and not feed into the media and the fans saying, we lost it, we can't win the game. Winning, the best thing they say, winning fixes everything. I don't care if you win by 1, 2, 3, you go win that game, you don't hear anything anymore.
Absolutely, man. This is a big one. You're right. You can block out all the noise if you take this one. Absolutely.
Yes.
But yeah, man, that would be nice. Let Durham do his thing. Feed Mason Taylor, feature him a little more. I definitely think that's some good keys.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Because I mean, in the 3 games they lost, Anderson, he was dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
He's been dynamic in all the games. So that's not the problem. Pushing the ball downfield is not the problem. To me, the problem is once we can't push the ball down the field, it's like, okay, what do we do now?
Right.
That's when Taylor comes. That's when the tight end comes in. Let's push it down a little more in a different way, because then they stop the run. It's like, okay, we're going to push it down. And it's just like, okay, slow this down. Let's pick them apart. Let's just take what they give us. Let's do the old Tom Brady way. We're going to take this, take that, take this, and then we're going to go over the top of your head. And then let's reel it back in and let's do the same thing. And let's just make you frustrated, where then you don't know where we're going to hit you from.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Something I would like to see too, man, is not wait, kind of like you're saying, not wait till 3rd and long to decide to chunk one over the middle. Utilize the middle of the field a little more. You got one of the best tight ends LSU's ever had.
Correct.
Utilize them, like you said. Pick them apart over the middle.
Yes, and then that opens up everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got Lacey. Now we don't have to force feed Lacey on these long go balls, and he has to make a spectacular catch all the time. Like, come on, let's do this. Brian Kelly is a phenomenal offensive guy. I know he is.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't the problem. Like you said, I think the problem is just we try to go too deep too fast. We get in these 3rd and longs, and then we try to rely on this big. No, that's what we got a tight end for. On 1st down, let's get us an easy 5 or 6. Now Now the defense is on their heels, because are they going to run? Are they going to go long? Are they going to go short? It puts you in a bind that you got to play. The best thing in offense you want to make a defense do is play all 3 things. You got to play run, pass, or screen. You don't know what we're going to hit you with. But like you said, once you get in 3rd and long, we're still saying, oh, you can run it. I mean, if you get 15 yards on us, 12 yards, shame on us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, Michael, I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on with me. Hopefully we're talking about a Tiger victory next week.
Correct.
It's gonna be a good one Saturday. So, man, I appreciate it. You have a good one, man.
You too.